All right, let's talk about Buddhism. It's one of the world's oldest philosophies, but for a lot of people, it's also one of the most misunderstood. So today, we're going to cut through some of that confusion and get right to the heart of what it's all about, using the core teachings as our guide. And we're going to start with the question almost everyone asks first.
Right here. This is the big one. And you'd think the answer would be a simple yes or no, but it's a little more complicated than that. You see, the Buddha noticed that a lot of religious ideas, especially the whole concept of a god, often spring from a place of fear or anxiety. So he took a completely different approach.
And this is where we see that first huge difference. So many religions are God-centered, right? They're focused on praise, offerings, praying for some kind of favor. But Buddhism is human-centered. The focus completely shifts within. It's not about looking for some external savior, it's about developing our own potential right here inside ourselves.
Okay, so if it's not really about a god, then what exactly is Buddhism? It isn't just a religion in the way we usually think of one. It's more of a profound philosophy, and maybe most importantly, a practical way of life.
The name itself is our biggest clue. The word Buddhism actually comes from buddhi, which means to wake up. So at its very core, Buddhism is the philosophy of awakening. And this whole path of personal development, it all started with the incredible experience of one man more than 2,500 years ago.
So who was this man? Well, his name was Siddhartha Gautama. And it's super important to know he wasn't a god, he wasn't a prophet, he was a human being, born into a royal family with all the privilege you can imagine, who was just deeply, deeply moved by the suffering he saw all around him.
And he made this radical choice. I mean, think about it. He walked away from a life of total luxury to find an answer to this universal question that we all face. Why do we suffer? And is there a way to find real, lasting happiness? He wasn't looking for some divine miracle. He was looking for a clear-eyed, honest understanding of what it means to be human.
After years of searching, he had this huge breakthrough, this profound realization. And the way he explained it, well, it's brilliant. He structured his entire discovery into a logical, four-part framework. You can think of it just like a doctor's visit. First, you identify the problem. Then, you find out what's causing it. Third, you confirm there's a cure. And finally, you get the prescription, the path to get better. This is known as the Four Noble Truths.
So, sticking with that doctor analogy, we start with the diagnosis. The first noble truth is a really direct observation. Life involves suffering. Now, this might sound a little gloomy, right? But it's not meant to be pessimistic. It's just being honest. It's a frank look at reality.
The Buddha actually broke suffering down into two types that, we all deal with. You've got the physical stuff that's unavoidable, things like getting sick, getting injured, or just getting old. And then there's the psychological suffering, that feeling of loneliness, fear, frustration, disappointment. By looking this stuff right in the eye, we can actually start to do something about it.
All right, so if suffering is the problem, the diagnosis, then the next question is obvious. What's causing it? And this is where the Buddha's insight gets really powerful.
The second noble truth drills down to the root cause, craving. It's that endless cycle of wanting something, desiring it, expecting things. You know how it is. When we want something and can't get it, we're miserable. But then, even when we do get it, that happiness doesn't last very long before we're off wanting the next thing. It's a hamster wheel.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The Buddha said we have to learn the difference between our needs and our wants. Our needs, for food, shelter, friendship, they're finite. They can be met. But our wants are a bottomless pit. Chasing after them is a game we can literally never win, and it's what steals our contentment.
But here's where it all turns around. This isn't just a grim diagnosis. This comes with a really hopeful prognosis. The Buddha didn't just point out the problem and leave us there. He gave us the solution. There is a way out.
And that is the promise of the third noble truth. We can actually overcome suffering. By letting go of all that useless, endless craving, we can achieve a state of true, lasting peace and happiness. And this state has a name: nirvana.
The Buddha didn't describe nirvana as some kind of physical place, like a heaven. He described it as an experience, an inner state of ultimate contentment, total freedom, and profound peace. He called it the highest happiness, a state that's way beyond all the friction and stress of our day-to-day lives.
So the big question is, how do we get there? Well, that's the fourth noble truth, the prescription for the cure. It's called the Noble Eightfold Path. And this isn't just a list of beliefs you have to accept. It's a complete practical guide for living. I mean, just look at this list. It covers everything from our understanding and our thoughts, to how we speak and act, to our job, all the way to how we train our minds. It's the roadmap.
Now, that path might look a little intimidating with 8 different parts, but it really boils down to 2 main pillars of practice: living an ethical life and developing your mind. This is where the philosophy gets real. The whole foundation of the path is ethical living, and that's guided by these 5 precepts. But you shouldn't think of them like commandments from on high. They're much more like personal commitments, a promise you make to yourself to not cause harm to yourself or to others. Following these creates the stable, clear mind that you need for the next step.
And that second pillar is meditation, which in the original language is called bhavana. And you have to hear what this word means because it's key. It translates to make grow or to develop. How cool is that? It tells you right away that meditation isn't just sitting there passively. It's an active, conscious effort to train your mind.
And you don't have to be a monk on a mountaintop to get started. A really common and simple practice can be remembered with the 4 Ps. You find a quiet place, you get into a comfortable posture, you begin the practice, often by just focusing on your breath, and you patiently learn to handle the problems, like your mind wandering off, when they pop up, because they will.
So, you're building this foundation of ethical living. You're training your mind with meditation. But what's the end game? What are the qualities we're actually trying to grow and develop on this path?
Well, it all comes down to the balanced development of 2 essential qualities: wisdom and compassion. Wisdom is about seeing things clearly, just as they are, without all our biases and judgments getting in the way. And compassion is about feeling connected to others, feeling their pain, almost like it's your own. The teaching is that you absolutely need both. They're like the 2 wings of a bird. You need both to be able to fly.
And honestly, this quote just brings it all home perfectly. At its heart, Buddhism is a path of radical self-reliance. The Buddha isn't a savior who's going to do the work for us. He's a guide, an amazing guide who shows us the way, but ultimately we have to walk the path ourselves. The effort is ours, and so is the freedom that comes from it, which kind of leaves us with the real question. It's not just what is Buddhism, it's are we willing to take that first step on the path?